Hollywood is no stranger to drama, but even by its scandalous standards. What Blake Lively is doing right now has shocked insiders, rattled journalists, and outraged the internet. The woman once known for her elegance, charm, and family-friendly brand has just made a move so cold, so ruthless, and so malicious that even her most loyal fans are asking, what is she hiding? Because this isn't just another celebrity feud. This isn't a public spat over a tweet or a tabloid misunderstanding. This is something darker, something deeper. This is a strategic, brutal legal tactic aimed not just at her legal opponent Justin Baldoni, but at anyone who dares to speak, share, or report the truth about what's happening behind the scenes. It's a tactic built on power, on fear, on silence, and now it's been exposed. Blake Lively's legal team has launched an aggressive and terrifying campaign issuing subpoenas to content creators, gagging whistleblowers, sealing documents at an unprecedented scale, and trying to erase the digital footprint of this case before the truth can fully come to light. This isn't courtroom defense. This is PR warfare using the law as a weapon. And here's the real kicker: most people had no idea it was happening. For months, Blake's team quietly filed motion after motion. Creators who spoke up suddenly went dark, influencers deleted videos, journalists dropped coverage, podcasts vanished. And behind every disappearance was the looming threat of legal retaliation. What we're witnessing isn't just a celebrity defending her reputation. We're watching someone try to erase the truth and punish anyone who dares to expose it. But the silence didn't last forever. Now insiders are leaking, subpoenaed creators are speaking out, and the media is finally connecting the dots between Blake's carefully polished public image and the shadowy legal operation she's orchestrating behind the curtain. It's a complete unraveling of the Golden Girl narrative. The woman who once represented sophistication and charm has now been exposed as someone allegedly willing to weaponize legal threats, gag orders, sealed filings, and subpoena power just to control a narrative that's no longer working in her favor. And that's not just desperate, that's dangerous. Because if Blake Lively, one of the most beloved women in Hollywood, can use her fame and fortune to bully critics, silence creators, and manipulate the justice system, what does that say about the state of accountability in modern celebrity culture? What does that say about how much truth will allow the rich and powerful to bury? In this video, we're breaking it all down: the legal tactics, the media fallout, the whistleblower intimidation, the Hollywood reaction, and the growing public backlash. Because the truth is coming out. And Blake Lively just made it 10 times worse. It's official, the gloves are off. Blake Lively, once Hollywood's darling, is now being accused of deploying one of the most calculated, manipulative, and downright malicious legal tactics we've seen in recent celebrity history, in a move that's left journalists stunned, legal experts shaking their heads, and the public outright furious. Lively's team has quietly executed a maneuver that crosses not just ethical boundaries, but some say moral ones too. And the fallout, it could permanently damage her career, her public image, and her friendships in the industry. This isn't just about defamation anymore. This isn't a tabloid headline or a Twitter rumor. This is a deliberate legal strategy that targets speech, weaponizes fame, and, according to critics, abuses the court system in order to silence critics, stifle the press, and control the narrative around her spiraling public reputation. And the kicker: most people had no idea what she was doing until now. So what is Blake's team really hiding, and why is everyone from whistleblowers to PR strategists to high-profile celebrities distancing themselves? The answer lies in a string of subpoenas, sealed filings, behind-the-scenes media manipulation, and a court record that's growing darker by the day. And today we're going to expose every piece of it. This is not just another twist in the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case. This is a bombshell, the kind that forces even her staunchest defenders to pause and reconsider everything. Because if the allegations are true, then Blake Lively just weaponized the legal system, not just against her opponent, but against critics, journalists, and even private citizens. From shady NDA letters and retroactive gag orders to sealed depositions and influencer subpoenas, we are about to unpack a strategy so explosive it could change how Hollywood handles celebrity lawsuits forever. Strap in, because Blake Lively just crossed the line, and there may be no coming back. In the golden glow of the Hollywood spotlight, Blake Lively has always been one of the untouchables. Ever since she broke through as Serena van der Woodsen in Gossip Girl, her name became synonymous with glamour, class, and aspirational femininity. With a charming husband by her side, Ryan Reynolds a staple on every red carpet, and a knack for avoiding scandal, Blake seemed untouchable. She cultivated the image of a woman who never made mistakes, never stepped out of line, and never got her hands dirty. But underneath the sparkle of designer gowns and carefully curated Instagram posts lies a ruthlessly effective public relations machine, one that many insiders have whispered about for years. While the public was enchanted by her red carpet charm, Hollywood insiders knew that Blake's team didn't play games, they played to win. And when it came to shielding her image, they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Blake Lively, after all, didn't just survive in Hollywood, she thrived. In an industry that devours women as they age, she managed to stay both relevant and revered. That takes more than talent, that takes strategy, planning, and a whole lot of power. And now that very power is under fire when news of her legal battle with actor-director Justin Baldoni first broke. Most assumed it would be a quiet dispute, brushed under the rug with PR statements and sealed filings. But it didn't take long for things to spiral into a scorched earth war. And at the heart of it, according to legal experts and insiders, is a tactic so disturbing, so calculated, that many say it crosses every ethical line imaginable. The seeds were planted months ago when Blake Lively's lawyers began filing motions that seemed oddly aggressive for a civil dispute. Whispered reports from those close to the case claimed that her team was trying to control the narrative, not just in court but outside it. Influencers and journalists who even mentioned the case in passing began receiving legal warnings. Entire social media accounts went dark, creators started scrubbing videos, and still no one knew just how deep the rabbit hole went, because Blake wasn't just trying to win a legal case. She was trying to protect an empire, one built on perception, perfection, and control. And that's when her strategy took an even darker turn. By the time public court filings revealed her team was seeking sealed documents and protective orders that included not just testimony from Baldoni but anyone speaking about her, it became clear this was no longer about reputation. This was about silencing dissent. Suddenly, the woman who once represented elegance and strength became the face of Hollywood censorship, and yet her fans still defended her. Why? Because the Blake Lively we've all known was a carefully crafted product, one backed by elite crisis managers, social media strategists, and lawyers who specialize in image suppression. Her public persona wasn't just a happy accident. It was a fortress built brick by brick to protect her from the very kind of accountability she's now dodging. And that brings us to the heart of it all: power without transparency. In Hollywood, that's a dangerous combination. When someone with Blake's influence begins using legal tools to stifle speech, intimidate critics, and shield evidence, the question must be asked: how long has this been happening behind closed doors? Because if this is what she's doing now, under scrutiny, what might she have gotten away with before the world was watching? Insiders are finally speaking up. From former assistants to journalists who were warned off the story, the picture is becoming clearer. This is no isolated misstep. This is a strategy, a long-term playbook to control public perception at all costs. And it's working until now. Now, with the internet turning against her, mainstream media beginning to question her tactics, and a judge showing reluctance to grant further protective orders, Blake's team is scrambling. What was once a seamless, controlled campaign has unraveled into a frantic game of legal whack-a-mole, but the damage is done. The illusion of innocence has cracked, and underneath we're starting to see the truth. Blake Lively isn't the Hollywood princess she was painted to be. She's a woman with everything to lose and a team willing to do anything to stop that from happening. And when anything includes subpoenas, censorship, and targeting creators online, that's not just ruthless, it's unforgivable. When Blake Lively's legal team decided to launch an aggressive counteroffensive in her case against Justin Baldoni, few expected the strategy to include what insiders are now calling a blanket subpoena campaign. But that's exactly what happened. And when the dust settled, dozens of content creators, journalists, podcasters, influencers, and even anonymous users on platforms like Reddit and X, formerly Twitter, found themselves on the receiving end of terrifying legal documents. And just like that, Blake Lively wasn't fighting a lawsuit anymore. She was launching a war on the internet. At first, the subpoenas were subtle. A journalist here, a podcast episode there. Most were quietly settled or ignored, at least until the first few recipients started speaking up. Then came the domino effect. Whistleblowers began to leak internal communications, legal experts began raising eyebrows, and suddenly a pattern began to emerge. Anyone who mentioned certain phrases, Blake sealed testimony, deposition details, leaked text messages, or the NDA scheme became a target. Creators with as few as 5,000 followers were being served with legal demands to provide identifying information, take down videos, and disclose how they got their sources. And the most disturbing part, in many cases, Blake Lively herself wasn't even mentioned by name in the original content. Her team was casting a massive net, combing the internet for even the faintest criticism or allusion to her legal problems, and using civil subpoenas to drag creators into the conflict. It was a scorched earth approach and to critics a clear abuse of the judicial system. A popular YouTuber who chose to remain anonymous after being targeted told a legal podcast, "I got a cease and desist first. I ignored it because I thought it was just a scare tactic. Then 2 weeks later, boom, an actual subpoena. They wanted all my metadata, IP address, everything. All because I shared a Reddit thread that someone else wrote." Another podcaster who received a subpoena said this is Hollywood trying to police the internet. Blake's lawyers aren't just defending her, they're attacking people who talk about her. Even traditional media wasn't safe. One entertainment columnist from a mid-sized online publication revealed that their editor-in-chief received a warning from Lively's legal counsel after publishing a story speculating about sealed court records. The article was quietly pulled, the journalist silenced, legal experts were the next to weigh in. Prominent First Amendment attorneys called the move a strategic lawsuit against public participation slap in disguise, and while the subpoenas weren't technically lawsuits, the message was the same: speak out and you'll be dragged in. Blake Lively's camp, however, remained tight-lipped. Publicly, they framed the subpoenas as necessary measures to protect client confidentiality. But privately, it was clear the tactic had a chilling effect. Small creators deleted videos. Threads vanished, TikToks disappeared, Reddit posts were scrubbed. It didn't stop there. Even private DMs and emails became targets. In one case, an independent Hollywood reporter revealed she was asked to provide all communication she had with anyone regarding Lively's alleged sealed deposition. Her response: "This isn't journalism anymore, this is a witch hunt." What Blake Lively's legal team didn't anticipate, however, was the backlash. The very creators they tried to silence began joining forces, sharing stories and exposing the harassment. Entire videos documenting the subpoena wave began trending. Hashtags like hashtag Blake the Silencer, hashtag Free the Files, and hashtag SubpoenaGate gained momentum. Suddenly, the internet wasn't backing down, it was fighting back. This wasn't about fame anymore. It was about freedom of speech. Because when a multi-millionaire actress starts using her wealth and celebrity status to legally intimidate creators, making content in their bedrooms, people notice. And it becomes very hard to spin that as self-defense. Civil rights groups entered the conversation next. A spokesperson for a digital rights nonprofit said this tactic isn't just unethical, it's dangerous. When celebrities start weaponizing the court system to silence online discussion, we're setting a precedent that chills free expression everywhere. And here's where it gets truly dystopian. Several subpoenas reportedly included gag language warning recipients not to disclose the document publicly. In other words, creators weren't just being threatened with legal action, they were being ordered not to tell anyone they were being threatened. One recipient compared it to being ghost punched in the dark. But even as outrage grew, Blake Lively's team doubled down. Court records revealed ongoing efforts to expand the scope of the subpoenas. They wanted server data, IP logs, deleted files. One judge pushed back, asking her attorneys in open court if they were pursuing legitimate discovery or just a fishing expedition. Their answer: silence. And then a leak broke the dam. An anonymous whistleblower released a copy of one subpoena served to a content creator, and it was explosive. The document didn't just demand data from the creator. It named 5 other creators as known associates. None of them had collaborated with each other. But Blake's legal team was keeping tabs on everyone, building a digital map of dissenters. This revelation shifted public opinion fast. What started as speculation turned into undeniable documentation. Blake Lively's legal team was compiling a list of critics and using the court system to intimidate them into silence. And for many that crossed the line, it's one thing to fight a defamation case. It's another to weaponize civil subpoenas against random internet voices, some of whom were simply commenting on public news. Blake Lively may not have personally signed these documents. She may not even have been aware of every name being targeted. But in the court of public opinion, she owns this tactic now. It bears her name, her resources, and her legal team's signature. And no amount of red carpet smiles or family-friendly Instagram posts will change that. Because once you subpoena the internet subpoenas you back. In any high-profile legal battle, there are always attempts to protect sensitive information. But what Blake Lively's legal team has done in this case goes far beyond discretion. It veers into the realm of complete legal blackout. And to critics, this is not about protecting privacy. This is about hiding the truth. From the very beginning of the Blake Lively v. Justin Baldoni case, her attorneys began quietly petitioning the court to seal nearly every significant document. Filings, declarations, witness lists, emails, almost everything that could be used to shine light on the truth behind the accusations was either marked confidential, buried in procedural language, or simply not filed publicly at all. And then came the gag orders. It started small, a basic motion to redact private family information. Reasonable enough, especially in a case involving celebrities. But soon after that expanded into a blanket request for confidentiality on depositions, text message records, and internal communications not just between Blake and Justin but between Blake and third parties. Her PR team, her assistants, her publicist. Even unnamed individuals referred to as friendly advisors, and then it grew again. Multiple court motions from Lively's team included requests for protective orders so broad that even legal experts were stunned. One motion reportedly asked the court to prohibit either party from discussing any aspect of the litigation with the press, the public, or on social media, a level of control that, if granted, would have effectively made the case invisible to the outside world. Justin Baldoni's legal team objected strongly. In one fiery filing, Baldoni's attorneys accused Lively of attempting to shield herself from public accountability under the false pretense of privacy. They argued that the court has a duty to remain transparent, especially in cases involving powerful public figures, but the damage was already underway. In hearings that took place behind closed doors, often without press access, Lively's team secured temporary orders sealing several major filings. Key witness statements were redacted. Leaked emails never made it into the public docket. The public, desperate for answers about the allegations, was left with nothing but silence. And yet the silence itself was damning, because every time a filing disappeared from the docket, every time a deposition was blocked from release, the question hung in the air: what is Blake Lively so desperate to hide? One court watcher summed it up bluntly: it's like she's building a vault around herself, not just to avoid embarrassment but to avoid scrutiny, and the court is letting her. Legal experts weighed in across media platforms. A former federal prosecutor commented, protective orders are standard in certain situations. But when you see this level of redaction paired with aggressive subpoenas, it looks less like legal protection and more like strategic silencing. More troubling still, some of the protective orders allegedly extended beyond the courtroom. Multiple content creators claimed they received communications warning them not to publish certain leaked documents that were never proven to be fake but were classified as legally protected material. This aggressive classification raised red flags in First Amendment circles, because if a celebrity can convince the court to seal information that reflects poorly on them, even if it's not illegal or confidential in nature, then what's stopping every powerful figure from doing the same? And here's where the story turns even darker. An anonymous legal assistant reportedly working for one of the firms involved leaked internal notes, suggesting that Blake's team discussed reputation triage strategies behind the scenes, which included suppressing certain lines of questioning in depositions, objecting to even neutral media coverage, and discouraging third-party cooperation with investigators. The term reputation triage sent shockwaves through legal Twitter. It implied a deliberate, coordinated effort to manage fallout, not just fight the case, but control the story. What followed was a surge of criticism from across the internet. #SealTheTruth began trending on X. Journalists began demanding access to redacted filings. Activists began calling for legal reform to prevent the kind of secrecy Lively's team was exploiting. One celebrity publicist who asked to remain anonymous said this isn't just about Blake. This is about how stars hide behind legal shields. If you're rich enough, you can literally make the truth disappear. And while her lawyers pushed the narrative of privacy, the optics told a different story. A panicked campaign to bury every possible thread that could damage her brand. The court, under growing pressure, eventually rejected one of her broader sealing motions, a rare win for transparency. But by then, much of the damage had been done. And Justin Baldoni, he issued a statement that struck a nerve: I believe in accountability. I believe the public has the right to know what's happening behind the curtain, because this is about more than to people in a courtroom. This is about truth, and no one should be above it. That quote was shared over 1 million times in under 48 hours. And for Blake Lively, who built an empire on relatability, trust, and the image of authenticity, it was devastating, because for the first time the public wasn't just questioning the story. They were questioning who she really is. And they were starting to believe the real Blake Lively was someone they hadn't seen before, someone willing to hide, bury, and silence her way out of a scandal, rather than confront the truth. And in a post #MeToHollywood that preaches transparency and accountability, that might just be the unforgivable sin. If you thought Blake Lively's legal strategy was limited to sealed filings and subpoenas, think again. Because behind the protective orders and courtroom silences lies a far more personal campaign. One designed to isolate, discredit, and legally threaten the people who dared to speak out against her. We're talking about whistleblowers, real People, insiders, assistants, ex-co-workers, minor collaborators, PR firm interns, paralegals. Individuals with pieces of a puzzle Blake Lively seems desperate to keep hidden. And according to mounting reports, Blake's team isn't just defending her reputation, they're hunting these individuals down with precision and aggression. It started quietly. A former assistant allegedly posted a cryptic tweet alluding to a sealed document Blake never wanted the world to see. The post was deleted within hours. Not long after, legal documents were filed under seal and the user's account disappeared. When a journalist attempted to follow up, they received a legal notice. Warning of unlawful disclosure of protected information. No names, no details. Just a chilling reminder, we're watching you. Then came Aaron, a pseudonymous whistleblower, who spoke to an indie media outlet claiming to have first-hand knowledge of Lively's attempts to preemptively gag employees during the early days of the Baldoni dispute. Aaron didn't share documents, she didn't name names. She simply described a meeting in which junior team members were told in no uncertain terms that they were to sign retroactive NDA letters or risk being sued. That interview sent shockwaves through the media world, and so did what happened next. Within 48 hours, the indie outlet was hit with a cease and desist. Aaron vanished from the internet, and the platform that hosted the story, their servers were reportedly subpoenaed for metadata. This wasn't just damage control. It was a targeted operation to identify and silence anyone leaking internal information about Blake Lively's legal behavior. But Aaron wasn't the only one. A freelance journalist working for a mid-sized entertainment blog confirmed that Blake's legal team reached out to them regarding an unpublished piece. How did they know the piece was in development? According to the journalist, the outreach was timed before they had even submitted a final draft. The implication was clear: someone is watching your inbox. But the most egregious story comes from a now deactivated podcast episode from a former film executive who briefly worked on a project with Lively 5 years ago. In the episode, which gained over 100,000 listens before being pulled, the host made this claim: she's always had people sign things, always, even if they didn't work for her. She'd have stylists sign NDA letters, assistants of friends. If you were in a room where something might get mentioned, she'd make you sign. It was control, plain and simple. That episode was online for less than 24 hours. After it was pulled, a Reddit thread archiving the content was mysteriously locked by moderators. The podcaster silent ever since, and while no legal filings have confirmed that Blake's team demanded the takedown, the timing was enough to cause widespread suspicion. And here's the pattern: each time a voice speaks, it disappears, not because it's been disproven, not because it's been discredited, but because the weight of Blake's legal firepower makes it impossible for everyday people to fight back. According to sources close to Justin Baldoni's team, even some of their witnesses have expressed fear about testifying or being named in public filings. The reason: they've seen what happens to others. One source noted that multiple potential witnesses have asked for anonymity protections, even in private filings, and it's not paranoia. It's a pattern. One legal analyst broke it down clearly. What Blake's team is doing is lawful on paper, but it walks right up to the edge of what we would call judicial intimidation. If you make it so painful, so risky, so frightening to speak, you don't have to disprove what someone says, you just have to scare them into silence. And this isn't just about the law. It's about the emotional and psychological cost of going up against someone with celebrity status, bottomless resources, and a team of lawyers with unlimited time. For many, it's not worth the fight, but the truth, it still trickles out. Some whistleblowers have gone underground, sharing anonymized tips with digital rights organizations. Others have turned to encrypted journalism platforms to hand over receipts. And while nothing has yet made it into the public court record, in full, murmurs of a sealed whistleblower packet filed by Baldoni's attorneys have begun to circulate. If true, that would mean at least one judge has seen what Blake's team has worked so hard to keep buried, and the court of public opinion is starting to take notice. Where once Blake Lively was praised for her eloquence and kindness, more and more fans are now asking, why are so many people afraid of her? On forums and comments and across social media, a chilling consensus is forming. This doesn't look like someone protecting themselves from false allegations. This looks like someone trying to control the narrative at any cost. And for a celebrity who built her empire on warmth, humor, and authenticity, that image is falling apart. Because when the people around you are afraid to speak, that says something. When your friends go quiet, that says something. When your critics are hunted, it says something. And in Blake Lively's case, what it says is loud and clear. This isn't a defense, it's a purge. Blake Lively once had the kind of Hollywood story everyone envied. Glamour, talent, family, fame, and a reputation so clean it gleamed. But Behind that picture-perfect exterior was a fortress built on control-curated silence, and the kind of legal maneuvering that few dared to question. Until now, her attempt to silence criticism through subpoenas, sealed filings, intimidation of whistleblowers, and strategic legal bullying didn't go unnoticed. It ignited something. And what she didn't anticipate is that the public, the press, and even fellow celebrities are no longer so easily manipulated. This scandal isn't just about what Blake did in a courtroom. It's about how she used the tools of privilege, money, and power to try to silence dissent and hide the truth. And that for many is unforgivable, because in 2025 we don't idolize perfection anymore. We respect truth, we demand transparency, and we hold even our favorite stars accountable when they cross a line. Blake Lively didn't just cross that line, she bulldozed over it, and now her empire is crumbling. One sealed document, one subpoena, one whistleblower at a time.